Many blessings, my loves. Blessed new moon for you all. We are in a new lunar tide. My name is Rebecca, and this is my report for Pillars of the Moon. So, welcome, everyone. Let's dive in and explore together the energies of this new lunar tide that we are now moving into. So, yeah, it's a beautiful cycle that we've got a lot of intensity, a lot of stuff coming up, very emotional energy. The sun has just moved into the stars of Cancer. So, yeah, we'd all be feeling that, the last kind of week, the shift of the sun moving into Cancer and how that's felt different for us. So, I've done an overview of the month, so let's start by diving into that. I'm going to share the screen for this. So the new moon is today as I'm recording, but it's not until 8 o'clock tonight, 8:11 on the 24th of July. We have our new moon in Cancer. So these are all GMT times. You can look up your own time zone at timeanddate.com. And then going into the first quarter moon will be on the 1st of August in Libra at 13:41. And then on the 6th, we have our astronomical midpoint. That's the midpoint between the summer solstice for us in the north and the autumn equinox. So the exact midpoint is known as Lammas. And Lammas is the time of the first harvest. It's when it's associated with the corn and the gathering of the first corns and the making of the first breads. And for those of you who are in the southern hemisphere, you will be celebrating Imbolc, which is the exact midpoint between your winter solstice that you've just had and your spring equinox coming up. So Imbolc is the first stirrings of life. So in the southern hemisphere, life is just stirring and waking up from its winter rest. And for us in the northern hemisphere, the harvest is coming in, so we're gathering and we can feel the energy descending. The days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer, and the darkness is drawing us down and in. And you can see it in the plants as well. A lot of the plants have started to go to seed, and they're kind of like drooping down. It's like they're looking down at the earth and they're bringing their attention down into what's coming, the descent of the winter. So Lammas is a real turning point. It's and Imbolc, any turning of the wheel is a turning point. And what we celebrate at Lammas is the abundance of the harvest. And yeah, I mean, this week for my Mama Village community, we had like 25 trays of free food delivered to us from a community called Crops Not Shops, who grow all their food and they want to feed all of the mamas. And they delivered all of this food for us for free. And it was such a gift. And with this new moon in Cancer, this is about the abundance of the mother and the gifts of the mother. And it's about nurturing, it's about cycles and receiving. So, yeah, I mean, it was such a beautiful thing to receive this harvest, and this is my wish for everyone all over the world, that we can be receiving what we need, that the gates are open for all that is needed to come and all that healing is happening and the food and the nourishment is coming. So yeah, we will be celebrating Lammas here in the Northern Hemisphere. And yeah, it really is about the celebration that of what we have achieved, and the full moon in Capricorn, coming up on the 9th. It's a lot about that too. Capricorn loves to achieve things. So we this time of year, like for us in the north, it's so much about like reviewing what we've grown and how we've grown, how we've matured, what we have achieved, what we haven't achieved, what failed, what went terribly wrong, how we could change things and make shifts in the next cycle to come. So as we're starting to gather our first harvest, there's a lot of wisdom that comes in this process too. But there's also like a death that comes, when you harvest like a pumpkin or a carrot or whatever it is you're harvesting, like you are taking that it's like a death and an ending of that plant, or that fruit is going to be their nourishment for you. So there is a releasing of the old cycle, of the growth cycle, and a gathering of the new life, which is, you know, the fruit has all the seeds in it, right? So it's like this is the changing point in the cycle, you know. And the new moon that's coming up today is actually in opposition to Pluto. You know, so I've been feeling like Pluto a lot, and Pluto brings this element of change through death, change through metamorphosis, you know, this connection to um, change that is unavoidable. You know, it's like you can't escape life and death and birth. It's like things happen as they happen, and there's this cyclical power that Pluto brings from our soul, actually, that is so powerful, you know. And there's this really divine force, I feel, that, you know, we are becoming more acquainted with this resonance with death, this resonance with the ending of things to create new things, you know, the ending of old cycles to birth the new seeds, you know. So with the ending, with the Pluto energy, you know, that it's bringing, there is a new cycle also being born at the same time. So just to remind ourselves of that, you know, and these new seeds that we're gathering, you know, this is a whole new possibility. You know, when you take an apple from a tree, you've got seeds of possibility inside that apple, you know. And there's a whole, like, you know, when I work a lot with birth work as well, and I do the Mama Village, and we support mums through mums and birthing people through the birth portal, from becoming being before children, and then metamorphosizing, dissolving, becoming goo, and then emerging as a mother and a butterfly, you know. Like, so I can witness this regularly, you know, and this complete dissolving of an old way of being, and a new form emerging. And it's the most incredible thing, you know. So with the energy of the Cancerian stars, you know, this is all really prominent. All of these kind of life, death, and rebirth and renewal, you know. And I've got a scarab beetle here over the Cancer constellation, where I've written New Moon in Cancer, because, you know, in the Egyptian cosmology, this constellation originally was known as the scarab. And the scarab is a very sacred beetle, as we know, in ancient Egypt. And they are connected to immortality and renewal of life and continuing of life. And there's such a great power in this new moon with this opposition to Pluto, you know. And also, it's the Cancerian stars have been connected to the turtle. So I've put two turtles here, and the turtles are one of the most ancient um, friends, that one of the most ancient beings that are actually on the earth. You know, they predate the dinosaurs, I believe. Like, they're millions of years old, the turtles. They've had different, you know, they've evolved and changed over time, but, you know, they have outlived great floods and all the things that wiped out the dinosaurs. You know, the turtles, you know, they're still here, you know. So their wisdom is very, very ancient. It's one of the most ancient wisdoms that they are. And what, you know, does the turtle teach? Well, you know, in the native indigenous tribes of Turtle Island, they consider the turtle to be the creator of what was in the creation myth. You know, that sky woman fell from the sky and landed on the back of a giant turtle. And then I can't remember which creatures she pulled up from underneath the water, but the different creatures come up and they put soil from deep within the sea onto the turtle, and then Sky Woman created the earth on the back of this turtle. It's a beautiful story, you know. And yeah, and I feel like that is the power of the feminine, you know, to make life and to make things beautiful, and to plant seeds for the future and to create gardens with flowers. And within the Cancer constellation as well, we have the beehive cluster right in the center. So much about fertility and life and creation and the hive and working together. I mean, there's just so much in this constellation. I love it. I love it so much, and so yeah. I feel like there's many layers to it. So we will unravel as we're moving through this report. Maybe more will come on all of that. But just to connect to the really ancient wisdom of the turtle. And yeah, and also there's the story from the tribes with the 13 panels on the turtle's back representing the 13 moons in the year. And how they saw the turtle as a calendar, one of the original calendars. So yeah, like I say, it's a lot of wisdom that these particular stars behold that is quite special. So yeah, just celebrating that on this new moon today. Yeah, so going back to the full moon in Capricorn, we've got that on the 9th of August at 8:55. And yeah, and then we've got the sun crossing over into Leo, and it's going to be around the Lion's Gate, right? So the Lion's Gate is, for me, how I perceive it, is as the sun moves from the stars of Cancer, the water, into the fire of the lion's mouth. So this is an amazing time of like the mother giving birth. It's so powerful, so amazing, like this time of year. And we can feel the fertility and the life and the waters and the birthing power of the mother, and we have a few mothers within our Mama Village community that are about to give birth as well, and it's very exciting that we actually get to witness this powerful energy. It's a real birthing energy, the Cancer into Leo kind of yeah, that the waters burst and then the sun is born, or the light is born again. So yeah, and then we've also got Mercury going direct just after that, so that would be nice. And Mercury is quite close to this new moon as well, so there's a lot of Mercury stuff going on. The last quarter moon will be on this cusp of Aries and Taurus, and we'll have a look at that in the sky in a moment. And that's on the 16th of August. And then following that, we'll go into a new moon in Leo, which will be on the 23rd of August. So that's the overview. So let's go and jump into the live sky now. Let's see what's going on. Where is it? So you can see here, this is Stellarium Web. So those of you that have been watching this for a while, watching me rambling on, will know that I love to look at the live sky as my guide. This is not Western tropical astrology. This is live visible sky astronomy, how things are right now in the live sky. So you can see the sun and the moon. This is at 8:11. This is in the GMT time zone this evening. We've got the sun and the moon together, as they always are at a new moon in early Cancer here. So the star that they're really close to is called Tegmine, which is a star in early Cancer, and it comes from an ancient Latin word which is called the shell or covering. So this new moon cycle, it's like the essence of it is very protective. It's very retreating, like this energy of protecting what's important, of keeping things safe. So this new moon cycle aligned to Tegmine has a really strong connection to that shell. We may feel like we need to retreat into our shell, or we need to take space, or we need to make ourselves feel safe. We could be having a lot of stuff coming up around safety, around emotional well-being, around nurturing and families, so with this Mercury retrograde, you can see Mercury is here and is going backwards. And just after the full moon, we'll start going forwards again. So the Mercury constellation and the Mercury constellation, the Mercury planet going backwards, over this area of the sky, it makes me feel like there's a lot of thought patterns, with Mercury ideas, conversations around the cycles within our families. What patterns and traumas and strong feelings and wounds and things are being brought up to the surface from the family past. So this is a really powerful time to be doing this inner work, really tending to that inner child within our own selves, and looking at the ways that we are being triggered and the emotions that may be erupting in us. Yeah, this is a really, I feel like with this protective energy of Tegmine, it's like there's a need to protect what's important to us, and with a big focus on family, mothers, children, So this is a really, this is kind of the essence of this, this new moon, I would say. So you can see that Jupiter is in Gemini, Venus is right in the horns here of Taurus. Such a powerful place for her to be as well. And you can see that Mars is about to come into Virgo now. It's just look, right at the end of Leo here. It's been with the south node of the moon. That's been quite intense. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it there, not looking around the sky too much more, but I wanted to just journey into, so I'm going to move the sun along so we can see that we're coming past the new moon now, and the sun is moving, so we can see. I'm going to just have the constellation boundaries, keep clicking them in. So this is the constellation boundary of Cancer. So you can see at the 8th of the 8th, the sun is at the gate of Cancer and it's moving towards the gate of the Lion. So it really is a period of time for me of like a threshold of change, and so when we think about what I was sharing about at the beginning, about how we in the northern hemisphere, we're preparing for winter. We're starting to gather the harvest and gather the wisdom and gather the seeds for the new to come. And those in the southern hemisphere, you're preparing to wake up, and all the seeds are starting to wake up and be born into the light. So wherever we are in the world, there is this transitional time, and it's a changing time. And I feel like there is a lot of shifting happening, as the sun moves from Cancer into Leo, and this whole cycle, I feel like we're going to be called to retreat, to take care of our own emotions and our own needs, and to nurture our inner child and our family, and tend the home and cook lovely meals. We may also feel like a a feeling of returning to our ancestry or our families or our old home where we grew up, or there's like a connection to origin and ancient family wisdom. So and then as the sun moves out of the stars of Cancer and goes into Leo, this is going to be like a rebirthing energy for the sun, coming into this fire and this passion of the lion. So but that would be a whole other cycle. But I just wanted to show you, that is for me, because there's a lot of hype around the Lion's Gate being to do with Leo, but you can actually see, like in the sky, where the sun is at the Lion's Gate, and it is between. It's the sacred union between the mother and the son. It's the sacred union between the fire and the water. It's the sacred union that creates rainbows. It's the rainbow bridge, which Sirius is the rainbow star. When you look at Sirius flashing under binoculars, it looks like a rainbow. And there's a beautiful song that I always sing at this time of year that's somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. There's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. And there's, somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue and your dreams come true. So, this is a time of really connecting in with, what we want to bring through in this world, what we want to birth, and really having our intentions. So coming back to the new moon today, ooh, there's that one. Um, so yeah, the new moon is coming this evening. Let's just go back to the time, 8:11. So yeah, you can see that whoop, the Cancer energy can also it can bring a lot of mood swings, especially with this opposition to Pluto that's happening. We'll look at the chart in a minute. But, we could feel like a lot of clinginess and sensitivity. We could be feeling more sensitive, we could be feeling overwhelmed by our emotions, we could want to isolate. Our intuition will also be really tapped in at this time. I would suggest for all of us, to connect to the water. I've got beautiful Avalon spring water here, which I'm drinking. It's such a blessing that, there's this sacred water that springs from the earth that it just never runs out. We just always drink. There's an element of the water that is really important that we tap into this cycle. And the water is our intuition, it's our feelings, it's all of our emotions, it's also to do with our cycles, so this is a really good time to be looking at the family cycles, I would say, with this Mercury retrograde in build up to the full moon. So the full moon will be happening in Capricorn. So let's just have a look at that. Just remind myself of the date, the 9th of August, so just after that 8th of the 8th. So we just saw where the sun was in the sky in that at this time, right between Cancer and Leo. And you can see the full moon will be happening here in Capricorn. And let's just look up Pluto as well. So the moon would just be past Pluto at the time of the full moon and is very much in the stars of Capricorn. So yeah, I feel like the days building up to the full moon could be quite intense. As the moon crosses over Pluto in opposition to this sun, so it's a big energy with Mercury there as well. So yeah, just take care out there. I mean, really find if we can find a way to get in the water, be it a lake or a river or a waterfall or a spring or the ocean, or connecting to the elements of the earth, Capricorn, and the water is going to be perfect. Maybe going for a nice walk if we can, finding some water somewhere, and that could be really rejuvenative, and kind of we may be feeling more solitary. Capricorn loves to be on their own. They like to go, well, they climb up on the mountain. They're very kind of solitary creatures, I feel like. They're quite content just in their own energy. So we could be feeling this whole cycle that we're needing to come home to ourselves and to really tend to these deep cycles within the family, and really tuning into what is important to us and reflecting on, what's grown this year, what's dying this year, what we're letting go of, and what we would, and reviewing, for the new cycle to come. Yeah, so I'm going to take us into the chart now so we can have a look at the new moon chart. So you can see here we've got the sun and the moon together at 3-3, so 33. So this is a lovely energy for you numerologists out there. Numerology is not something I specialize in, so I'm not going to dive into that, but that is a beautiful synchronicity with the 3 and the 3 together. And yeah, so you'll see straight away that there's this opposition with Pluto in early Capricorn. Pluto's also retrograde, so this makes me feel around, power dynamics, stuff to do with authority, power structures. Pluto is power, Capricorn is structures, so structures of dominance, structures of control, structures of power, and how this affects the family unit with Cancer being in opposition here. So this is bringing up all kinds of, deep, deep feelings and eruptions, I feel, around, the mother-father axis, the mother-father arc, so all of the ways that we've been dominated, we've been controlled, or even the ways that we dominate and control, different feeling very protective, over our family, over our loved ones, over children and mothers everywhere, feeling very like a lot of wounds coming up because we've also got this square to Chiron and Eris as well, you know, and for us I've drawn up this chart for the UK, so it's the fourth house, so it's the home, isn't it? So lots of feelings of chaos and disruption and deep wounds within the home, in the home. So I feel like our homes are really going to be at the forefront, our family and our home. And also, with the Capricorn part of it, like the work that we do and our responsibilities and um, being mature and but also like the Capricorn energy can be really cold and not connected to their emotions, so all of this kind of stuff is in the field. And Chiron and Eris is like the deep hidden, the parts of us that are really like subconscious, deep dark traumas and the deepest darkest stuff, is really, and Pluto, is the guardian of the dark. So I feel like, with this new moon, with the stars of Cancer, this is about riding the waves, being with the emotions that come and navigating some pretty big emotions, I feel. Um, yeah. So that's Chiron and Eris in T square to Pluto. I mean, it's going to bring, I guess, a lot of chaos. It could bring like, I feel like there's an element of endings here as well. Endings of old family cycles, coming into completion of old patterns or ways of being or ideas of how mental patterns or the way that we communicate. I feel like there's a whole shift coming, this cycle and a metamorphosis with Pluto of really having to let go and release some things and to create, space for the new as well. And yeah, this is the work of Pluto, which is, I guess it can generate a lot of fear in a lot of us too, which is also a big part of, how we help and support mothers when they're giving birth is to really, address this sense of surrender that's required and to really meet with these shadows and these fears that prevent the new life from being born, so the blocks in the road kind of thing that you may meet. So yeah, and in being in the birth portal myself twice now, I know that both times I've had to meet different aspects of myself that I had to move through in order to transform into this new identity that I'm in now, and it's not always easy, to meet those archetypal parts of us. And I remember it so clearly when I was birthing my daughter. There was like this midwife come in that looked like Kali Ma. She had like fire in her eyes. I was so like cosmic by that point, and it was just like whoa, like there's like a, oh my gosh, there's a divineness in all of it, and it's hard to see it sometimes when we're in the triggers and the traumas, and but there is love somewhere, and I always feel like with the energy of Cancer, like there's just so much love there. When I connect to the energy of Cancer, it's about, for me, the bees and this hum of creation and how it connects everything. And like the power is in the community. It's the power is in like the bees, they all work together for a central purpose, and they create this beautiful honey, and they fertilize, they you know, that it's because of them that we even have all the fruits and the flowers and all of the lovely things, you know, so all of the nourishment, you know. So this shows us the power of our collective. You know, this is one of the beautiful gifts of the bees. And then you know, the gift of the turtle connects us to the gift of this ancient wisdom of the cycles and the flow of life and death and rebirth and the waves that come in, and how we can be moved by that. You know, it's like there's an element of surrender in being moved by the waves, and opening to receive more wisdom and more love from those waves, you know. So yeah. So what else did I want to talk about with this chart? So let's just rub all of that one out. So something that has jumped up for me when I was looking at it before was this grand water trine. So, oh, just rub that out. So you can see that Black Moon Lilith is in trine to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and she's in Scorpio, just on that first, well, 0 point. She's rebirthing, and the new moon. So grand trines are great, very supportive energy, very easeful energy. It's flowing in this way to support us. So, as I was saying at the beginning, really dropping into the gifts and the nourishment and the replenishment of the water. You know, we could be feeling that we need to drink more water, we need to submerge ourselves in water, we need to do salt baths. And the energy of the water and the flow here, you know, with Saturn and Neptune, it's like there's stuff around illusions and delusions, and you know, ways that we may dissolve and, you know, into power, or the ways that we, you know, try to control others. And there's a lot with Saturn and Neptune here, with their conjunction, that I feel now they're going retrograde. You know, there's a lot of collective reviewing around, you know, Saturn structures, work, responsibilities, spiritual growth, spiritual maturation with Neptune there. You know, that we're really having to mature spiritually. And I feel like with this grand trine, it with the water, it may be just a spiritual practice of reminding ourselves to drink more water, to allow our waters to flow, to connect to our inner waters, to connect to our feelings. How am I feeling today? You know, and really tending to those parts of ourselves, you know, connecting to the parts of us that are more sensitive, and really honoring our own needs, you know, really making ourselves feel safe. What can I do that makes me feel more safe right now? You know, what are the things that help to regulate my nervous system that I can lean into? And so I feel like with Black Moon Lilith in this really early part of Scorpio, you know, this could be as well around our sexuality. This could be around, you know, our Shakti, our life force, our waters, our flow, our essence, that we can really journey into this transformative metamorphosis energy. You know, we may feel like we want to dance, or we may want to, you know, connect to ourselves in a more softer, watery way. You know, and this is a really great kind of way to be working with this energy. If our tears come, if we need to cry, if we feel them coming, just let them come, let them come, let them come. And it's like it's going to create so much healing for us. You know, let our tears release, and we don't have to hold on to that. Just let it be free. So yeah, our sensitivities are our superpowers at this time. I feel like if we're feeling extra sensitive, if we're feeling overwhelmed, we probably need to be quieter. We need to be in our own energy. We need to be in our garden or somewhere, in bed, in a salt bath, whatever we're doing. Just really spend this cycle really taking care of ourselves, of our feelings, of our emotions, and creating a protective cover, a boundary around us so that we can nurture and nourish our own self. I feel like with the full moon that will be coming up in Capricorn, there's a lot that can be achieved. Achieved is my word of the day for Capricorn, through creating more structures for ourselves. So structures for healing. We could be feeling that we need to go on a retreat, or that we need to take some time out. We need to go on a holiday. We need to, just create more of a structure for our healing, maybe going into therapy or some kind of supportive practice that will enable us to feel more safe and secure and protected. Maybe it's putting in a routine or a plan for our day that we can make sure that we're always doing, certain things that we know support us. So yeah, the full moon that will be coming up on the 9th, you'll notice that Venus and Jupiter are together in Gemini. And this is a really, really lovely energy. Like Jupiter and Venus together is like expansive love. So we've got a lot of intensity building through the early parts of this cycle. And yeah, and then I feel like as we are coming to the full moon, there's going to be, like a big release, or maybe we will get to have a bit more time to retreat, and with this Venus and Jupiter together, there's a gift here. There's a gift in our voice, in our communication, in sharing our thoughts and our ideas, but also, feeling the expansiveness of our social network and how we can connect all over the world with our ideas and our visions and our support and our love, So that's a really beautiful energy for these two together. And you can see as well that there's I'm going to draw it out, a grand trine at the full moon that's coming. So with the North Node that's now in Aquarius, so it's a really amazing kind of community energy, I feel like with this whole cycle, with the Sun in Cancer and Mercury going retrograde in Cancer. Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me if this whole cycle we're really like attending to family, the family life, and on our family history and our family stories and our family patterns, and yeah, and it could get quite intense, with this square that we have to Eris and Chiron and the opposition to Pluto. So yeah, I'm feeling like that could potentially be all I'm going to share today. I'm just gonna quickly show you the first quarter moon in Libra. Yeah, so that's on the 1st of August. So yeah, this first quarter moon is really close to Vesta, the sacred fire, the Vesta priestesses of the sacred flame, Black Moon Lilith, and Juno, all in Libra. So this energy of the first quarter moon, the building of the cycle, it really is, it's coming from here. It's going to cross over Mars, who is thankfully moving away from the South Node now. Yeah, so there's like the sun will be at the first quarter moon, the sun and Mercury will be together in Cancer as well, you can see here. So lots of conversations coming up within our family, lots of ideas, lots of communication. Still have this opposition with Pluto. So yeah, we've got first quarter moon in Libra, and yeah, a connection to creating more balance, more harmony. What are we devoted to? What are our commitments? And what scares us within those dynamics? What is, maybe Lilith in Libra can be a bit indecisive or kind of sit on the fence and not want to take sides. Can't decide. Wants to be the peacemaker. So there's kind of like a need for really tuning into what is it that we are devoted to, what is our inner spark, what is our passion and our devotion. And Juno is very maternal kind of energy, what our commitments to our family. So I feel like this is all going to be really heightened this cycle. Yeah. And then, like I said, the full moon will be in Capricorn, so let's just draw on this here. Capricorn. And yeah, big things coming up to a head within. I feel like there's kind of like this balance, I feel, with the first quarter with Libra, a balance of this work and home life. How do you get that balance? And this could all be, bringing up lots of tension and triggers within our family dynamics, of work and money and feeling, that we're getting our needs met. Definitely a month for really looking to our emotional needs. What is it that we actually need, and creating space for ourselves to receive it. And then as we're coming into the last quarter moon, just finishing off the cycle, where are we? So we've got you can see here the last quarter moon is right between Aries and Taurus. So let's just quickly look at the sky to see, because I feel like it's close to Algol. So let's just check. Whoop. And yeah, look at that. What time was the last quarter moon? 6:12. Yeah, look at that. The last quarter moon is really lovely alignment with Algol there. So on that day, Algol, I mean, I've spoken about Algol so many times, but it is the severed head of Medusa. It's a really powerful star connected to our blood and our cycles and our feminine rage, our power. Like, there's a lot in there. I'm not going to go into a whole download about Algol now, but this last quarter moon on Algol is very potent. That's on the 16th of August. So we can expect some, the sun is moved into Leo by this point. This is a surge of power, a surge of courage, a surge of passion, maybe some rage. Mars has moved into Virgo now, so Mars is getting a bit more practical and is a bit calmer in the stars of Virgo, I would say, just getting everything organized and in order. And so there'll be a lot of kind of sorting energy, I feel, with this last quarter. I mean, that we need to sort things. Like, how can we, taking it back to the seasons as well. Like, we are probably gathering seeds and we're gathering fruits and we're gathering things that are ready to harvest. So then we have to put in the work to organize that so that it doesn't go moldy, so that we can make use of it all, so that we can retain the seeds for the next year. And so it's just good timing for Mars to be in Virgo, because I have definitely got a lot of work to do in the garden. Yes. So anything else that I wanted to share around that last quarter moon? So yeah, I think that's it, my darlings. I think that's all I'm going to share. Hoping some of that's helpful for you all. A very kind of protective, retreating, nurturing cycle to connect to our own emotions and our needs and our feelings and our family, and tending to this very sensitive work-life balance so that we can create more harmony, hopefully, within our lives. Yeah. So, blessed be, blessed new moon, blessed new cycle, and I'll see you soon, my darlings. Lots of love.